Ishii has a hobby of searching for minerals. One day, he was bitten by a snake. He hurries home and passes out from the venom. In a semi-conscious state, he sees military helicopters flying in the sky. When he comes to, a beard has already appeared on his face. Knowing nothing, Ishii gets into a car and drives to the city, but there were no living people there anymore. The soldiers ask the townspeople to take shelter in a safe place and hope for God. The radio picks up residual frequencies. This is how Ish understands that it happened throughout the country. Ish rushes to his parents, but it was already too late. He understands that soon everything will be overgrown with grass and eventually cities will turn into jungles. Ish still hopes to find other people, but in every house he enters, there are only the deceased and the exit from the city is somehow blocked. He tries to wake himself up, hoping it's just a dream. Closer to night, a bright light is visible in the distance, coming from Las Vegas, where there are also no people. Ish spent the rest of the day walking through expensive hotels, eventually coming across two people. Anne asks Milton to bring clothes for Ish. Anne says that they have immunity. Milton documented everything on his phone. It turns out that an unknown virus has appeared in the world. Doctors tried to stop the infection, but humanity was not ready. The government made a mistake. They thought that if they did not impose a curfew, there would be no panic among the people, and then they would manage. This only accelerated the spread of the virus. The whole world was completely wiped out. They no longer saw other people, except Ish. Every time they turned on the news, a new country was reported to have fallen to the virus. A new day comes. Ish tells the new friends that he is going to leave. The country is big, maybe he'll find someone else. Milton suggests staying longer. The local generators will last for a few more weeks. Everything necessary is here. They will be able to live peacefully. And then Milton will use the gun. They had already discussed everything with Anne. Ish suggests Anne reconsider and live together. She refuses, but if he stays, she will make his stay more interesting. Ish leaves the hotel and sees as he leaves the city, he stumbles upon a dog and takes it with him. To survive, he goes to the library and collects the most useful books. That's how the first year went by. All the cities are already covered in greenery. Once he read that people hope for what they cannot see. However, Ish did see the smoke and rushed to its source. Emma turned out to be his neighbor. She has been living in this town for several days. Her parents were military. Their upbringing gave her a chance to survive. Ish was tired of being alone, which is why he stayed over at her place. And the next day he shows her where he lives. Their supplies are almost exhausted, and the couple decides to check out the nearest supermarket. From that day on they live together. Emma wonders why they are still alive. She doesn't believe in fate, maybe it's the universe's joke turning into a show. While installing solar panels, Ish trips, injuring his leg. To his relief, the injuries aren't too serious and he recovers quickly. After a month, they realize that they are expecting a child. This frightens Ish because there are no hospitals anymore. No one will help them. They have to start studying medical literature. In a couple of days, he fully restores the electricity supply. Now they have a working refrigerator. That night, the whole city was overrun with hordes of rats. The ground was literally covered with rodents. The rats were so hungry that they even attacked a dog, but Ish quickly rescued their friend. After some time, the street cats corrected the situation. Now there was nothing preventing them from strolling the streets with their child. But this life was not enough for Emma. She started marking places where they could be found. One day, Ish came across the girl. He manages to convince her they won't harm her and takes her to their home. By this time, the settlement already had new children, and George with Moira, who saw the markings. 7 years after the beginning, Ish heard an alarm. Armed, they went into the forest and found another group of survivors. They agreed to lower their weapons. Their names are Molly, Ezra, Jean and Rave. They assure them they don't need anything, but Ish understands that everyone needs something, and he offers to have them over as guests. They found this place thanks to the writing. Mola thinks Gina's face looks familiar. It turns out she was a popular singer. They used to live in another group, but almost everyone was killed by a common fungus. Tomorrow all the adults plan to explore the area. They will be split into pairs. If anyone sees something strange, they need to contact him. Now that there are 4 more people, the first priority is to look for canned goods. The raid was very successful. A lot of food and medical supplies were found. Over a few years, some of the children have already grown up and new ones were born. Being the most well-read, Ish becomes their teacher. On this day, a heavy downpour occurred in the city. Ish tried to find his friend, but it was too late. He died from a tree. Holding back tears, he buries him. The next day brought new challenges. A puma jumped out of the forest. Ish shielded the children with his body, but now he has a huge number of injuries. Only thanks to coordinated efforts do they manage to save him. Emma couldn't live peacefully knowing there was a predator somewhere that had mauled Ish. She takes a rifle and goes into the forest, where she quickly finds the puma and eliminates it. A few days later, Ish returns home. By the 17th year after the beginning of the apocalypse, Joey had become good at fishing, which made Ish very proud. But his other son Alex envied him. Reeve and Heather are amazed by many things, such as the pool table. They have never seen a normal world, which makes everything seem interesting to them. Ultimately, they grow closer and meet.
Life like
the
this.
house in the sim place quickly bored them, and they persuaded their parents to let them travel a bit. When Evie was filling the kettle, she noticed the water flowing slowly. Checking the reservoir, they saw it was empty. The pipes had failed and burst. There was enough water for a maximum of 2 weeks. They didn't have time to think everything over when new people arrived in the settlement, Charlie and Pelly. According to him, his team found a drilling rig. That's how they learned to drill wells, and they can teach them to do the same. Ish gives them some fuel, after which everyone starts drilling a well. During the hunt, Charlie shoots an animal without saying a word. This scares Ish. Moreover, he says that he often practiced shooting, and not just at animals. All this confused Ish greatly. You should have seen your face. And he no longer wants to keep guests in his home. No one listens to him. Moreover, all the residents are friends with Charlie. Tomorrow, water flowed from the well. Now they no longer need Charlie's services, so he needs to leave. However, he says he really liked it here, so why not stay one more day? Late at night, Ish heard a woman scream. Leaving the room, he sees Charlie coming out of Evie's house and his friend Silas is standing outside. He goes to check on the girl and sees she is crying. They fully understand what he did, and now they must kill him. But before that, Ish once again suggests leaving here. After receiving yet another refusal, he eliminates him. But Charlie's family is allowed to stay with them. Perry is not even sad about Charlie's death, because he harmed her too. Only Silas remains loyal to Charlie and leaves the settlement. A couple of hours later, Silas returns. According to him, he thought about everything and realized that he was
young.
He refuses to listen to him because he knew what Charlie was doing, but said nothing and covered for him. 20 years passed since the beginning. Joe made a prototype of an airplane. Alex is still envious of him. In the evening, some people, including Joe, suddenly fell ill. The illness progresses very rapidly. Corey fears that a virus that wiped out humanity has been awakened. And now they are in danger again. Ish spends every free moment sitting next to Joe. Alex doesn't like this. He is sure that if he got sick, Ish wouldn't come to him. Days went by and the son wasn't recovering. Ish starts to believe that it is God punishing for Charlie's murder. With no other option, he clears the rubble and goes to the main city. After taking the medicine, Ish visits the church. He wants God to take him and give Joe health. Heather returns home, but without Rafa. He perished. One day they found an inscription and arrows. Following them, they came upon a madman. He stopped the roof and Heather instantly threw the axe, but she couldn't help Ruff anymore. Molly is developing a new medicine, but it needs a couple of days to take effect. Her medicine worked. It turns out they were suffering from a new type of virus, and she managed to defeat it. At the same time, Corey is curious about what the madman looked like. From the description, he understands that it is Silas. Unfortunately, Joe was the only person the medicine did not help. Upset, Ish crosses out Emma's inscription. She finds him in the library and tries to convey that he still has other kids, so he doesn't need to take rash actions. And even though Ish returned home, he does not know what to do now. A year later, Ish gathered his strength and entered Joe's room. In his diary, there was a dream to find new friends. For this, he developed a radio. With the desire to fulfill his son's dream, he gathers the residents and shares what he read. After a while, an antenna appeared over the building, but there is silence on the radio. Ish doesn't step away from the radio for a second, periodically switching frequencies. Heather wonders, what if the numbers she saw have vanished?
Her assumption turned out to be true. Not far from them, there is a settlement where 70 people live, and each suggests joining forces.